What is up, ladies and gentlemen, YouTube Nation? Thank you for coming into my channel and watching another video. This video we're going to cover my last 6 months, and we're going to cover how much the truck made, how much all the expenses have come out, and we're going to cover what I have made. I know I'm going to get comments on this video of, oh, you could make so much more money if you came here, or whatnot. Either way, that's what we're going to cover in this video, so stay tuned. All right. So, like I said, we're going to cover what I have made in the last 6 months. We're going to cover from January 2026 until now, here in June of 2026. I'm going to read over it on my tablet here. I'm currently logged into the Swift owner-operator portal. I'm going to go into my stuff and I'm going to read it off, and we're going to have a small little discussion about it. And then at the end of the video, I will show you guys exactly what we went over today. Like I said, I already know we're going to have some whole bunch of comments going, oh, I make that as a company driver, or I do this, or I do that. Okay, I understand. Okay, I'm doing this because this is what I enjoy. I'm doing this because I have the freedom that I have here at Swift, and I'm more than likely not going to be leaving Swift anytime soon. So, unless some personal changes at home change, I'm staying here. So, either way, I already know y'all are going to make your comments, whatever. If I don't respond to you, that's because I just don't see the point of responding and giving any more time or energy towards it. So, we're going to start covering this. Now, you got to remember, this last 6 months, I also spent some time at Walmart, on the Walmart dedicated, which was a much lower pay. So the pay is going to be much lower than even I expected for the last 6 months. I'm hoping that these next 6 months, after I go off of home time this next week, and I come back and I go on a percentage, I'm hoping that these numbers will double from what I am bringing home. Because the truck's made a lot of money, but I haven't really brought, in my opinion, a lot home, but I've brought a decent amount, in my opinion. So here we are. Like I said, on my tablet, I'm going to go over it, and then at the end of the video, I will show you guys exactly the screenshots of everything that I went over. All right, so far this year, from January 2026 to now, June 2026, I've done 50,719 loaded miles, 1,460 empty miles. Now, those empty miles, you got to remember, are paid less than the loaded miles if you are cent per mile. When I was at Walmart, they just added it all in. You went from point A, the point B, the point C, the point wherever, right back to point A. So it was all loaded miles. There was no empty miles when at Walmart. Now, what I've been told as well, when you go percentage, you're not going to get those empty miles. So obviously, I'm going to have to find a way to get loads that are close from where I'm delivering to where I'm not deadheading a whole bunch of miles. That bring down my costs. So, for Walmart added together, and since OTR, because I was both so far these last 6 months, mileage pay by itself. Now, this is without the fuel surcharge and everything else. Mileage pay, the truck has been paid $53,218.18. Now, when you add the additional pay in there, that's fuel surcharge pay, that is Any lumper reimbursement pay, that's that little tiny stuff. Extra stop pay, detention pay, that's all categorized underneath additional pay. Additional pay, the truck has made $34,016.78 for a grand total between those two, for the mileage pay and the additional pay. The truck has made $87,234.96 in the last 6 months. Now, obviously, in my opinion, that's not too bad. That's a lot of money. That's right into the truck, though. It'd be nice if it was into my pocket, and only 6 months I've made almost 90 grand. That would be awesome. Either way, the truck itself in the last 6 months has made $87,234.96. Now, obviously, that is what the truck has made. That is not what what was paid out to me, because you now also have to add in all the negatives or the expenses for the truck. So we had a reimbursement, and this is what they put on here differently, but I had a reimbursement for a lumper fee, which was $150. That was a few back in January, February. I did a video on this. That customer really pissed me the hell off. It was a tire load, but $150 to unload the tire load. So we're going to get into the charges now. Now remember, the charges are coming off of that 87 grand that has hit into the truck, that the truck has been paid. So what I have paid so far since January to not this recent paycheck that's coming up, but the recent one after that, so 6 months, 1 week, what I have paid towards the truck, I have paid $17,070. Now that's a lot of money. Now you got to remember, I'm in a 4-year lease on this truck. After 4 years, I will have paid $100,000 towards this truck. Swift, when I signed this lease for this brand new truck, is selling me the truck for $190 grand. So at the end of the 4 years, I will owe $90 grand. If I so choose, I want to keep the truck. Now, obviously, there's other options. I can turn the truck back in and go into another lease, or I can go into an MRP, take this current truck and put it into an MRP lease for the next couple of years. Personally, I don't know what I'm exactly going to do. Obviously, I have some time, but to make that decision. But at the end of 4 years, I will have paid $100,000 onto this truck, and then I will have the $90,000 balloon payment. The great thing about Swift, and I need to say this before we move on, is Swift does not add any interest onto that payment. There are a lot of places, because I know you're going to say, well, you should probably just go to a bank and get it yourself. You gotta take in the calculation that a bank is going to charge you interest on whatever they loan you for your truck. So for me on this truck, yes, I may be paying the 190 grand, but I'm paying that 190 grand interest free, if you get what I'm saying. Okay, so the next category is going to be the communications equipment. Now that's going to be the tablet, stuff like that. Basically, it's going to be the tablet. That's the only thing I can really think of about communication equipment. I've paid so far the last 6 months $391. And then you're going to go the F-Hut. I've paid $232.50 so far in the last 6 months. Now, I've put in, and now this is still a charge, okay? This is still a charge. I put in my maintenance reserve $3,396.99. Now, obviously, that is fluctuant to who you are. I started out mine at 10 cents a mile. To take that out to go into my maintenance account, you can go all the way up to 20. I figured 10 cents would be a pretty even medium, with it being a brand new truck. Now, obviously, with me going over the percentage, I will more than likely be upping that to probably about 15 at least. I don't know. Everybody that I have talked to has advised me to move it up to 15. That way I can actually put money into my account, because everybody that has been on the percentage has done less miles per week. So obviously you're taking out less to put into your maintenance account. But so far, the last 6 months, I've put $3,396.99 into the maintenance account. Now, you have the performance escrow. The performance escrow, no matter what you do, you're going to have that charge, okay? Thankfully, I am almost all the way paid off on that performance escrow, and then they will stop charging me. I'm like $250 away from finishing that performance escrow. They take it out weekly at a $50 increment. So far this year, I have paid $1,150 into that performance escrow. Now this next one is directly towards a gentleman who is posted on my made a comment on my last video for the excessive miles charge. Okay, and I need to explain this excessive mileage charge a little bit, seeing how there's a lot of people who misunderstand it or think that it's a little ridiculous. Okay, the excessive mileage charge, the way Swift is doing it, is they're doing it like they would if you went to a car dealership. If you go to a car dealership and you lease a car from a car dealership, they give you a set amount of miles for that lease. If you go over those miles for that lease, they're going to charge you a charge for those miles, because you have now lowered the value of the truck or the car. It's the exact same thing when it comes to this semi-truck. Swift has a certain set amount of miles that is included with the lease without being charged per month. That is 10,000 miles per month. Okay, so if you do the 10,000 times 12 months, that's 120,000 miles a year that you are allowed to drive this truck that you lease from Swift without being charged an excessive mile charge. The big difference between leasing a car from a car dealership and obviously this version of the excessive mileage is you don't get any of that money back from the excessive from having to be the mileage charge when you're leasing a car. Here at Swift, that excessive mileage charge goes towards your balloon payment if you decide you're going to buy the truck. Now, obviously, if you don't decide you're going to buy the truck and you're going to give it back, and you're either A, going to leave the company, or B, going to lease another one, from my understanding, is that money is now theirs to keep, because they are putting it into the value of the truck, the depreciation value of the truck that you are now giving back to them because you ran over that set amount of miles. Swift is a business, guys, just like everywhere else. Their banks are businesses, stuff like that. If they are expecting that you are going to turn in the truck at the end of your lease, they are obviously expecting it to be to where they can actually turn around and make a profit off of that truck by selling it. Yes, and I know a lot of you are like, oh, of course they're going to make a profit. They're profiting off of you as the driver for driving the truck, but then they're also profiting from turning around and selling the truck. Okay? Well, you got to look at it the same way when it comes to, you can look at it the same way when it comes to a car lease. The bank that is leasing you the car is making a profit off of you, because then they turn around and then they're selling the car again after you return it. So, yeah, I mean, you get a set 10,000 miles. Obviously, if you're going to go over that 10,000, you're going to get charged. Okay. The cool thing about here at Swift is they if you decide you're going to buy the truck at the end of the lease term, that excessive mileage charge will go towards your balloon payment. So obviously, if I decided at the end of the 4 years of this truck, or even at the end of the 2 years of this truck, and I continue and whatnot, after I continue putting it on an MRP and I decided I was going to buy off the truck, that excessive mileage charge would go towards my balloon payment. So obviously, if I could come up with a 90 grand in 4 years to pay off the truck, they'll minus everything off of the excessive mileage off that 90 grand, and that's what I'll end up paying. Now, if you go and put the truck into an MRP lease, that will lower your balloon payment, okay? So what I was told in my truck, and I'm assuming it's going to be for all the other trucks, the exact same thing, my balloon payment at the end of the 4 years would be 90 grand. If I put it into another 2-year lease with Swift, if I decided I was going to keep the truck, my then balloon payment would drop down to only like 10 or 12 grand. Okay. Then they would be taking out that excessive mileage at the end of that one. Either way, you're not technically losing out on that money unless you decide you're going to give up the truck at the end of the lease. If that makes sense to you. That's basically the only way I can really tell you. But yeah, so my excessive mileage charge that I've had so far from January till June for the last 6 months, I have paid out $536.25. So, and that's just for this year. Obviously, it would go up higher if I decided to. It would go up higher, obviously, if I decided to continue if I continued going over 10,000 miles per month. By what I have been told by all the guys who are on percentage, they all pretty much stay under 10,000 miles because they're making a shit ton of money off of less miles. Now, obviously, I am sure there are guys out there that are making more. That are doing a lot more miles and still making that higher pay too. Either way, now we're going to go on to the pre-pass. The pre-pass, that's basically the little toll box thing. That's $8 a week. I have paid $184 in the last 6 months. And then now we're going to go down to the shop repairs. On this truck so far in the last 6 months, and that's oil changes, A services. That's when it went into Kenworth, when I had to get when I got the radar fixed, right along with my AC motor replaced and fixed. I have paid $1,821.81 out of my maintenance account into making repairs and doing preventative maintenance on this truck so far this year. Okay, and then you have the fuel tax. So far in my fuel tax, I've paid $910.24 this year. And then you have the mileage tax. Now, a mileage tax is more of a Oregon and New Mexico kind of thing. I have paid $145.44 into mileage tax. That's basically for driving in Oregon and New Mexico, both those two states. And I don't think of any other ones, if you know any of any other ones, but I know those two states charge you to drive through their state, to charge you to use their roads. So, now we're going to go into a much bigger expense. And this expense comes into the fuel, okay? And I know a lot of people tell me all the time, hey, you should get your own card, you should do this, you need to be able to be saving yourself money. And I agree. I 100% agree. I think having your own fuel card is a great tool to have. But I also have the mentality, and I don't know if this is the right mentality to have, but I have the mentality of the more I spend on fuel, the more I can claim when it comes to my taxes, okay? That way it lowers the amount of income that is taxable to the IRS at the end of the year. So I'm fine using Swift's card. I know a lot of you are going to, or a lot of you, and one of you have constantly told me every week, hey, you need to get your own fuel card. And I agree. I think I might be getting my own fuel card. I just don't know if I'm going to use it all that often. Like I said, I have that mentality of, hey, the more I can claim at the end of the year on my taxes, the lower my taxable income, the better. And like I said, I don't know if that's the greatest mentality to have, but that is the mentality I have. So, now, Swift's fuel card, you get a discount when you go to the big three. When you go to the Pilot Flying J, TA Petro, and Love's, okay? You get a discount from that. Yeah, it's not, they don't give you a really big discount like what they're getting, and I understand a lot of people, they get stuck on that fuel discount thing of like, well, I have to have all this discount because it's bullshit that they're taking this discount. Okay, again, my mentality is the more I spend, the lower my income comes at the end of the year for it to be taxable. But Swift will give you a 5-cent discount at the three big ones. Obviously, they open up the ComData card for an owner-op over a company driver. The company driver has to go to those three big guys. As an owner-op, I can go wherever ComData is accepted. Maverick, QT, Quick Trip, not the QT Quick Trip, but the one that is a K, Quick Trip. Into basically anywhere that the ComData is accepted. I've been able to get fuel at a Marathon. I've been able to get a fuel at a Sinclair, a Shell. But anywhere that ComData is accepted, you are allowed to stop at and get fuel. So on top of that, there's the fact that Swift keeps track of all that for you. So I don't have to, at the end of the year, I don't have to worry about keeping track of how much I've spent in fuel, how much I'm having to pay out in taxes for the fuel taxes, and so on and so forth. If I just use ComData's card, if I just use the ComData card that Swift provides me, Swift does it all for me, which makes it easier on me. And I know a lot of you may sit there and go, well, that's lazy. You should do your own numbers. I've never really been good with numbers. I mean, I'm decent with some. I've started to learn on a lot of these things, but why do my numbers when Swift will do it for me? Yes, I understand that's a contradiction. I should be doing my own numbers, even though Swift's doing it as well. And I do some of my own numbers. But either way, that way I don't continue rambling on here. What I've spent in fuel so far since January till a week ago, I've spent this year $30,057.76. Got to remember, when you're an owner op or a lease op, or even the company guys, even if you're just running a company, your fuel as a truck driver is going to be your biggest expense. So I've spent over $30,000 in fuel so far this year. Now on my diesel exhaust fuel fluid, so DEF, I've spent $1,574.58. And then they also add the advances for that $150 lumper fee, which I already covered when I was saying the reimbursement for lumper for that stupid tire load. So my total expenses, so this is minus what the truck has made. You got to remember, the truck has made so far this year $87,234.96. Now, with all those charges that I just went over, total charges is $57,329.69, which has put into my pocket It is made taxable to me as a taxable income, $30,055.27, which averages a little over $5,000 a month. Personally, for my bills and my expenses, if you look at it overall, a little over $5,000 a month. Obviously, this is before taxes. It covers my bills and makes it to where I'm happy, and that's pretty much all that matters. Is that you're happy doing what you're doing, and it's able to cover your bills. So, with that charge, and with what the truck is made for what has come to me directly, like I said earlier, I'm going to say again, is $30,055.27. Now, obviously, that can be a much higher. Personally, in my opinion, it probably would be much higher if I didn't spend that time at Walmart where I was getting paid less. I'm hoping to double that by the end of this year with going percentage. And I'm going to make a video at the end of this year as well, doing the exact same thing, going over the numbers, going over how much the truck has made, how many expenses I've been charged to the truck, and what I've taken home personally. So take home personally myself, and this is before taxes, is $30,055.27. Now, I've heard people say you need to save 30%. I've heard people say you just need to save 25%. That's ultimately up to you. Personally, I think to keep yourself out of trouble with the IRS, you should probably sit at that 30%. Thankfully for me last year, because I had the RTI and I had Swift, I had enough deductions that I didn't owe jack shit for taxes. So that little lump sum of my taxes that I got to save, I got to just roll over into this year. Obviously, I'm going to continue doing the same thing and hopefully make it to where lowering that taxable income to where I pay less in taxes. So, and I think that's one of my biggest goals with this whole thing, okay? I want to make as much money as possible and put as much money as possible in my pocket, but I also want to pay as little as I can in taxes. So, for me, seeing these big charges, I'm not worried about it. It's all going to come out into my favor at the end of the year. So, yeah. So, quick recap. The truck made in the last 6 months, $87,234.96. I've had the charge of $57,329.69, which has put into my pocket $30,055.27. So, that is my my 6 month income or number review, as you want to call it. Like I said, here at the end of the video, I'm going to show, I took screenshots and I'm going to show you exactly what I just went over. That way you guys aren't thinking that, oh, he's just lying or he's whatnot. I'm not that kind of content creator for Swift. I'm going to be open and honest with you 100% to the T. Obviously, there's certain things I'm not going to tell you, like what my bank account number is and so on and so forth. That is not going to ever happen. I will show you what my numbers are for what the truck is made and what my business is made. And I'm going to tell you the truth and show you the good, bad, and ugly, all of it. So, yeah, I'm going to end the video here. I hope you all enjoy it. The next video will be the weekly review of this last week. So, yeah, you guys have a good night.